expert care from people who care. Services office, and today we are going to be talking about self-care hot takes, and we're just going to hop right into it with our first fast 5 questions. So morning self-care or nighttime self-care?
I like both options, but I'm gonna say probably nighttime's probably more for me.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I just think I have more energy at night versus the latter. And healing privately on your own time or being open about your struggles online?
I'm gonna say healing privately is probably more up my alley. I feel like online there's too much bias.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think if I ever try to post about it online, it feels more performative, so then I'm not doing it for me. So I have to say healing privately on your own time. And an everything shower or walk outside to reset?
I'm gonna say in everything shower. I love those like little mister things that you put on the bottom, and then it like smokes up your shower.
For sure. I really love nature, so if it's nice outside, I'm definitely going to be taking a walk for sure. And then digital detox or binge watch comfort shows?
I'm gonna say digital detox for that one.
Same. I think in the past it was definitely binge watch, but I've just seen more benefit with just staying off of everything.
Yeah, that's fair.
And structured routines for self-care days or living by what feels good in the present moment?
I like structured self-care days mainly because it gives me something to look forward to at the end of the week.
It's actually really, really smart. I think mine's definitely just a mix of both because I like to have things that are like part of my normal routine that can also be considered self-care, but also just like I really got to listen to like what my mind or my body's telling me at that time, I think.
For sure. We'd like to take a moment to express our gratitude to St. Clair Health. They've been our steadfast annual sponsor, supporting our podcast for 5 consecutive years now.
At St. Clair Health, we're always improving, building on our commitment to face the challenges of today, making an impact on the communities we serve, so we can be stronger together. St. Clair Health, expert care from people who care.
Like, it's hard for me to like think of it in the moment because I think I usually just go by what I'm feeling, but I think more recently, like in the past couple of months, even though it's something I do every day, probably going to the gym, because not only is that part of my routine, but it's something that I'm choosing to do for myself that makes me feel good. So I'd have to say that that's probably my biggest normal self-care, but I also like to designate like at least one day to like clean, rest, like a lot of skincare. Like that's kind of what I always consider my self-care.
For sure. I definitely love moving my body. Honestly, when I first saw self-care, I always thought like more of like skincare of self-care, but
no, for sure.
I do love moving my body. I feel like it helps me like lower my stress level, but then it also is good for just like burning some calories, just like feeling like you're moving your body. But for me, like self-care, every Sunday is like my big self-care day. I have this like, it's called like Jamaican hair oil.
Ooh.
I've been using it for a while. It like makes me think my hair like grows faster. I only use it once a week though, and I leave it in overnight, and then I wake up and my hair is super soft, so I love that.
I'm gonna have to invest, honestly.
Yeah. And then I always do like 2 shampoos, conditioner, and like obviously I wash my hair through the week, but I think like my showers, like my self-care for sure.
Yes. It's nice to have those things to like look forward to, for sure. And I think sometimes we probably think that self-care has to include a lot of steps to like make it feel more fulfilling, but I think it also can kind of exist in those smaller moments, like with moving your body or going to the gym every day. Like it doesn't always need to be like, because I think it's definitely a common misconception of like skincare versus self-care because they kind of can coexist. But I think like especially on TikTok, like
oh my gosh,
they break down so many steps of like skincare and things like that, but then it's labeled as self-care and it's like, well, I think this might be consumerism.
Literally.
I really don't think that's
seriously
self-care.
On TikTok it's like 30 different steps for yourself. I'm like, is your skin even touching the rest of the products? Like there's already 5 layers. That's how it feels though. Would we consider protecting our peace something that can be part of self-care, or is that more so an avoidance of feelings or things going on in our lives?
I think 2 things can exist at once with that one, because I think protecting your peace and boundaries are all definitely things that we can also consider self-care, because that's something that is making us feel good and for our mental benefit. But also I think again with TikTok, I think that label of protecting your peace gets misinterpreted on there sometimes, because then it's just kind of are distancing yourself from everyone in your life and cutting off people that necessarily don't need to be cut off, instead of just having like a open and honest conversation. Because I think when we immediately resort to, no, I'm protecting my peace, when anything comes up, that might not be the healthiest thing in the world. But also, like, it is still very true that you do need to protect
For sure.
Your own peace with that as well.
When I think of like protecting my peace, I think of just like sometimes like old friendships that I've had. I'm just like, I spent so much time dwelling on it, and I just feel like that relationship of itself was like draining, and I'm like, that's kind of like what I consider a healthy way of like protecting my peace, because like I definitely still try to be friends with them, but then like when you just have like a friendship fallout, you kind of realize like if they're not reaching out to you as much as you're reaching out to them, like you're like, okay, maybe I should just take the hint or just like, I guess in a sense like protect my own peace, but just like not put so much work into something if they're not returning it. Is like how I think of it. But I would say like it's definitely not healthy if you're just like, oh, I'm gonna protect my peace from this and this and this, when like some things are just like unavoidable, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah, for sure. I think that one is just like it's such a broad term, and sometimes we can like use it in a way that's not healthy, but then like exactly what you're saying, like when you reflect back on old friendships, like I know that I'm like, oh, there are all these red flags the entire time. Here's the ways that I was not serving myself or my better interests, but I think it's definitely something that we do need to be like more consciously aware of, probably. And I guess with that is cutting people off like overused in conversations about self-care.
I think like sometimes maybe like I think it can be portrayed the wrong way if it comes out the wrong way. Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, like I guess we don't know exactly why someone like cut someone off or like protected their own peace. So I guess until you get like the full story, it's kind of just like interpreted how you read it, I guess. I don't know. I personally haven't had to like cut many people off in my life, which I'm grateful for that, but I don't know. What are your thoughts?
It definitely feels like very loaded, because I think I've been a little unlucky, and I've definitely had to cut people off because they were not benefiting my life in any way. And that's always just a hard conversation in general, because I'm a big people pleaser, which is not very self-care. But I think more in like more recent years, I think it just gets to a point where you have to realize there's boundaries versus disposability with people. And sometimes I think that can be a hard line to walk, because we're not really taught anything about boundaries in school. Like it wasn't until I started getting like my degree in psychology that was something that a term that I was even like more familiar with. So I think at least online it can be kind of presented as more drama than it's good. But I do think that it's just so different for every single person, and if that's what you're considering self-care, I don't see anything wrong with that. It is just a thing of like, are you doing it to avoid people, or is it because they're just harming you, type of thing.
Yeah. Do you think that social media has like a big influence on that term and like how people use it or go about it?
Yeah, I think so. Like already with what we've kind of like talked about, like, there's so many ways that you could like view it with social media, because there's such a strong emphasis now on self-care, which is a good thing, because I feel like in the past self-care was something that like older generations viewed as being selfish. So I do like with like kind of our generation and social media, there has been that turn of the page of, oh no, you can take care of yourself and you're not being this crazy selfish person. But with that, I do think it can still move into unhealthy territories. Like there's still like eating disorder Twitter, eating disorder TikTok, and they can also try to like label that as healthcare or like self-care, like the way that they're talking about what they're eating every day and then they're barely eating. And I think when people watch that, they can fall into those unhealthy habits as well, because they're like, no, I'm taking care of myself. This person online saying that, so why can't I do that? And I think that's what I worry about with it, but I also just think we use a lot of therapy terms online now that people shouldn't be
Should not be using.
using.
I think social media definitely brings about like comparisons and
Mhm.
like the negativity like in yourself, in your own sense. Like we said about the skincare, like these people have like these expensive brands and they're putting like 30 different things on their face and like rubbing whatever on their skin, and it's just like, do I need to have that to have self-care? Can like I just have my own way or version of doing that? And like you said with like eating and things like that, I think it definitely has a big influence on especially like younger generations. Like if they grow up online like more than like we did, I think that's definitely gonna alter the way they see some of those things, and like the terms that you said, they're gonna think something's normalized when it shouldn't necessarily be normalized.
Yeah, not to call out my little cousin, but they are like 9, and they like their mom has bought them a bunch of skincare because they were begging for it. And I'm like, at 9, I was never.
I was using
ever
soap and water.
If that, I don't know.
If
Even when I was
water,
young,
yeah.
but they get so happy about it. But then I watch that and I'm like, you should not be thinking about this at 9 years old. You should not know what moisturizer or toner is. Like they said that word at 9, and I was like, literally, I barely know what that is.
I actually don't even know.
Yeah, so I think what you're saying with the younger generation is very real.
Definitely.
Faith, I didn't know about those different like Facebook accounts.
Yeah, there's like these sides of the internet, unfortunately. Like it's like there's eating disorder Twitter, there's sides of TikTok that get like that. I mean, even Instagram Reels, you can fall into that. And like it's not something obviously, well, there's I was gonna say that they're not pushing it, but the sites kind of do sometimes. Because that's the content that people
want to watch.
Yeah, I mean, there's the whole thing with Eugenia Cooney, who was a very big person on Tumblr. I mean, her whole thing was about her severe eating disorder, and that kind of branched out into weird sides of the internet. But a lot of the time, it gets labeled as like, no, look at me, this is what I eat in a day, and then you watch that, and they're eating like a cracker for lunch,
right? And
you're like, well, there's no way that you're sustaining yourself, but they're like, no, this is how I fuel my body. And I think that push is also really dangerous. Like there's a girl on TikTok, her name is like Soph Moscow, and she has type 1 diabetes. And she was like, what I need for my body is very different than what these people on TikTok are pushing for, that are saying this is the only way to be healthy.
Yes.
And that's just not true. And like I do get worried that people fall into that, and then it's very hard to come out.
It also doesn't help that like the people that are like pushing this are getting paid to push it. And like they're big name, like not even necessarily celebrities, some of them but just like big like they call them influencers on TikTok. And I think that term is just so like, it just gives them so much power, and like they get paid really to post the content that they post. And they, in a sense, they don't really care about their viewers. I mean, they're just caring about the money they're making and the views they're getting. Like, that's really what it comes down to. And, like, unfortunately, they will use things like eating disorders and, like, any, like, skincare, I guess, self-care, things like that. Or that they try to deem as self-care to, like, get views.
Yeah.
Which is, it's crazy.
It's just scary. It really, because anything that they can monetize is what they'll push.
Yeah.
So it does end up being those things that are like clickbaity.
Yes.
But then there's like, I think of like my younger cousins or something watching that. I'm like, they don't know that that's what they're doing. Right. Or even like older people that like aren't familiar with the internet like that. Right. Like these terms get thrown around, and it's like people that aren't really expecting that, they're not going to know to look for it.
They're not going to even probably question it.
No.
And then, you know, especially young kids, the brains aren't developed.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Okay, this must be what I should do. And I think something that's concerning about that for me is there's such a push to like for like outside validation or like you know all this noise. And I can imagine it'd be so hard to find like your own inner voice, which most likely has a lot of the healthy answers, but is being quieted based on all of this.
Yeah, I always tell people, I'm like, ask a professional if you're genuinely curious, like an actual nutritionist or like go to therapy. Like, because I do think a lot of people hop on TikTok and they're like, no, I'm a nutritionist. And then they have you don't know that.
Like,
There's no way to, like,
Right.
you don't know what
Right.
they're giving you. So it's like, if you're curious, always look for, like, local people in your area for that.
Yeah,
The
for
more
sure.
like aware you are of the things that people post, the more you can see it in the
Yeah.
content.
Exactly.
For sure.
Do we think radical honesty is always healthy? I could start the answer.
Yeah.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Okay, I feel like it could be, like, I think it is to an extent. Like, depending on the situation, like, if I were to ask for, like, a complete honest answer from, like, my closest friend or, like, my family member, like, I would take what they had to say into account, mainly because I know the honesty that they're giving me isn't meant to hurt me, and I did ask for it. But then I think times, like, when it wouldn't be healthy is if it's someone constantly saying, like, oh, you should do this, like, you need to fix this. Like, I've heard stories, someone that I work with, she was like, her boyfriend was constantly just, like, gabbing and complaining about things that, like, she didn't do, and I'm just like, that's not, like, something that you deserve. Like, that's not, like, and I wouldn't even consider it honesty. Like, that's just, like, complaining and whatever. But I feel like there needs to be a line between, like, what you ask for and how you want it to be received. Like, how you want to receive it, I guess.
Yeah. I really like how you phrase that. I think with this question, there's a quote that I, like, really love, and it's something I've always, like, stuck to, but it's like, people that prioritize or value brutal honesty, I think that it's like they love the brutality more than they love the honesty.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And, like, that's something that I've been able to see in my own life. I'm like, okay, were they being honest or were they being mean?
Yeah.
Because there's also, with honesty, like, you can be completely 100% honest, and there's also a level of kindness that you can still show with that.
Yes.
But there's a lot of the time I don't think that that's what people do.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's like, well, I'm going to be honest, but it's like, if you're not being sensitive to the other person's needs still, it's like, I don't value that opinion as much.
Yeah.
Because it's like, when I'm being honest to someone, I know that I'm still trying to be, like, considerate and aware of what they're going through or what the advice they're looking for is.
Right.
So I think sometimes that radical honesty is almost bullying, and people use it. Well, it's like, I'm just being honest. Oh, you can't be mad. I'm just being honest. Well, it's like, no, you also weren't kind.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I agree.
I think
No,
it goes
I
into that
totally agree with
territory.
that. I think that's a huge problem in a lot of social situations these days. Like, I hear a lot of that in high school, and I don't know, I think I've thought of it as, like, being passive aggressive.
Yeah.
But I think, Faith, you're really hitting the nail on the head with this idea of, like, no, it's mean. Honesty.
I think sometimes when people ask for honesty, the person they're asking it from takes it as an opportunity just to be like, oh, boom,
Oh,
like,
100%.
take this, like, yeah. I don't feel like I've ever personally experienced that, at least not from, like, my family. Like, I don't know, maybe in middle school for sure, but, like, yeah.
I just think there is, like, I think there's a way that you can say most, you can deliver most things to people, but it's so important to think about how you're going to say it, as well as your tone of voice. Like, I think tone really goes, like, such a long way.
And you have to remember,
as well as what the words are that you're choosing. And you can't take back what you...
No, like, once it's out there,
once it's there, yes, so. Words do hurt.
Yeah, I had a friend like that I ended up cutting off, and she, like, she prided herself on being a brutally honest person. And that, like, and when I heard that quote before, I was like, no, that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. Because you can be an honest person and a genuine person, but if your honesty comes with making people feel bad, how honest are you even being? Because then everyone's idea of honesty is also biased, because what's honest to someone else is not going to be honest to someone else. So it's like, I think it also comes down to, like, what do you think someone's being honest with you about?
Yeah, it's such a good point, because I feel like some people, like, they think it's such, like, I'm brutally honest. Like, this is such a good trait of mine.
I'm so brutally honest.
I'm gonna be honest.
And you're gonna, like,
yeah. But it's like, hey, if you're making someone, if you've really hurt someone's feelings,
It's like they're looking for that.
Yeah, like it seems like sort of intentionally, but you're framing it as I'm the honest person. It's like, I don't know, that seems a little incongruent.
Yeah. Also, the person's like asking for advice. So like if you're not gonna come at it like having some kindness like you mentioned before, then like I'm never coming to you for advice again. If you're just gonna like shove it down my throat, I guess. But what does self-care mean to you personally?
I feel like that's so loaded. But I think self-care to me is whatever is serving my best interest or fueling me emotionally or physically. I think it's the like energy drainer versus like an energizer is kind of how I view it. Like if there's things I'm going about that are draining, that's probably not going to be self-care. But if there's something that I know that is like fueling me, then I will probably consider that more self-care.
Yeah. I feel like for me, self-care, I know I've talked about my eating habits on the podcast before, but I do a lot of that intuitive eating, and I feel like that is like my big self-care thing. And I have to travel a lot with like coaching and things like that, and sometimes like the scare behind eating comes up because like you're like eating out a lot, like you're just doing things where you can get like fast food, and even like in those moments I still find myself like, what do I really want today? Like I went to dinner yesterday and I was trying to figure it out. I was like, low key, like I want a salad, but I also want some chicken wings. So what did I do? I got a salad and a side of chicken wings. And I was like, dang, this is exactly what I wanted. And like I just love like, I consider self-care like listening to my body, and like that's how I go about that.
I really agree. Like I think for me, self-care is like listening to myself.
Yeah, for sure.
And it feels so good when you listen to yourself and then you do the thing, like getting what you want to eat, and then you
so
eat it, and I'm like, I'm so happy.
That's so real.
It's like the best feeling.
Yeah.
Let's take a moment to acknowledge St. Clair Health. We're deeply grateful for their generous sponsorship of the 5 seasons of Teens Tap In.
At St. Clair Health, we're always improving, building on our commitment to face the challenges of today, making an impact on the communities we serve so we can be stronger together by creating reliable resources that recognize all of our neighbors with access to the highest quality healthcare, advanced care close to home, and a shared humanity that delivers on our joint vision to create a healthier community for all. St. Clair Health, expert care from people who care.
Triggering, gaslighting, narcissist, love bombing, like the way that those terms come up?
I think definitely. One thing that like kind of branching off of this question, like some people are like, if I'm in like a situation and then someone does something and they do something else and they're like, oh, it's just because I have ADHD. Like, oh, it's because I have this. Oh, it's because I'm like, no, like, do you actually? Or like, are you? And most times they don't, but they use those terms in like a way where they think it's like kind of funny, and it's like not. Like people actually are diagnosed with those things and have to deal with those things. And I think that like whenever things like those topics, and then also with like other therapy talk, when they get like thrown into like everyday conversation, like it has less meaning than it actually does, is when it doesn't sit right with me. And I don't like that that's being more normalized.
Yeah. No, I really like that you brought that up, because I do think that there's even I've seen on the internet more recently where they're like, no, that's my tism, and they like will say, no, I'm just autistic, and they're not autistic.
Right, that's another
and that's thing, like so beyond hurtful, because to the people that actually do suffer from that disorder, it's like it takes the weight out of what they're actually experiencing. And like I know the things that I've been diagnosed with, and when I see that taken onto the internet and people just throwing it around so casually, it's like, well, I suffer with this every day. So when I'm listening to someone just throw that up, it's like it's hurtful. It really is, because you know that they're just using it to be trendy. Like it becomes a term that people throw around, like and that's just it sucks, because I am so glad that we are in an age where mental health is something that's so readily able to be talked about. And we are able to talk about these disorders, and people are like, if they are diagnosed, they can be open about it. But then when people aren't getting diagnosed and they're throwing it up, it's like people tend to not view people with that disorder as being valid anymore. They don't believe them.
Right. Yeah.
And like that, I think, is when it gets into that really dangerous territory. Or even like I've heard friends like trying to support each other through breakups, and they're like, no, they were just a love bomber, or they were just narcissistic, or they were abusive, and they weren't that. And it's like, okay, well, this starts to also get into very dangerous territory, because we're just warping the meaning of that word completely. And like, my specialization in school was trauma and crisis, so we talk a lot about triggers. And it was brought up, like, a lot of veterans hearing the word trigger like be so normalized, they like don't feel valid in their triggers anymore. Because if you can be triggered by like, so people use that term so loosely now that it really does just take the weight out of people that are actually going through it. And that's just something that I really hope we can start to like move away from.
And like when people, like if someone gets mad or someone says something, they're like, oh, are you triggered? Like, can we not? Can we stop? And then another thing that bothers me is like, if someone like, if I were to say something and Faith like didn't agree with me, I'm like, oh, I'll just go like kill myself because you don't agree. That's another big thing that I'm just like, we cannot be having, like, that is something that people deal with every day, and that's a really big issue in the world, and like just something that's not okay to be in terms of like a casual conversation. Like that is one thing that really bothers me, and I think that I don't know how to like stop that in the like, because it's like it's on social media, it's everywhere, and like there's
how
just
do you
no
think
way
that became
about
normalized in casual conversation?
I have no idea.
It's like, I think social media, we tend not to take anything seriously, so everything gets memeified at some point. And like with people saying like, I'm gonna kill myself, and it's like they're not going to do that, and they're just saying it to be funny, and it's like that quick reaction to it. It's like I just don't think people are taking it seriously is what it becomes an issue. So then it's like, yes, we're talking about mental health, but if we're not taking it seriously, what good is it actually doing?
Right.
And that's where I think it gets very scary, especially with the younger generation, how much worse it's becoming. Because then I think a lot of people are like scared off from therapy or getting diagnosed because they're like, well, I don't want to become a joke, because that's what's happening instead.
And like if those things get looked down upon because they're memeified, and I feel like that can kind of go into like healing in public versus healing in private. Like I said earlier, because that was one of the Fast 5 questions, right? I said private, and I just feel like you said, like everything we just said, even like with like how you mentioned breakups, like just I feel like everything on social media is so like, oh, you're going through this automatically makes you that. So I feel like not like internalizing things, but like just going to those that are like close to me and like talking to them about things, as opposed to like looking for a solution online. I feel like a lot of people start to do, and I think, I mean, from my own opinion, like my own experiences, keeping things like more privately to myself and like figuring that out that way is easier than like being online. Because then you see the things online, and then sometimes you just more than not feel worse about yourself. It's just like a never-ending loop of like a bad cycle.
No, that's incredibly valid. I think especially with that healing in public thing, especially when I was like, I remember being like 19, and I definitely like after breakups, I remember I was just so online all of a sudden. And there was this, I can look back at it now and see that the motivation was like wanting that ex-partner to be like, no, look how cool and hot I am all the time. Look how much better I'm doing, but I wasn't doing better. Those were only like quick like glimpses into my life that I was posting on like TikTok or Instagram. And I would always feel so terrible after the fact because that wasn't something that I was doing for me. And I think that kind of goes into what you guys were talking about earlier with just like listening to yourself. And if you're not doing things for you and you're doing it solely for the attention of other people, there's just no good that I think can come from it. And we do see that a lot on TikTok with the way people monetize their breakups even. And then it doesn't give us a good perception of how like we're supposed to heal from things, because it's like, oh, look at this person just got broken up with, but they're in like Cabo the next day. Like, and you're like, okay, well, what am I doing wrong? Yeah, literally.
Like stuff like
and you're like, okay, well, what am I doing wrong if I'm like in bed crying? And you're not doing anything wrong,
right?
Like, because what exactly, you're doing it something normal, they're doing it for that like 10-second TikTok. Like what they're doing isn't real either. But that kind of what you said, Sarah, earlier with that comparison is just so strong. And like more recently, like in the past couple of years anyway, like healing privately, like you said, it's not just that you're keeping to yourself all the time. It's like, no, you're just not doing it online.
Yeah. And like what you said about listening to your body, like in those instances, I feel like, I don't even know if it's a quote, but like someone said something one time. It was along the lines of like, I don't want to live my life for other people to see. Like, I want to live it for me. And I'm like, I don't really post on social media that often. Like, if I get a fun, cool picture sometimes here and there, sure. Like, or like if I get pictures, I'm like, yeah, I want to post that. But like, I like things being posted like for me. Like, I don't really care about what other people like perceive of it. And like, but then I have friends that are like, oh, we have to like post this so like this person can see. And I'm just like, I feel like that just gets to be so draining. And I'm just like, I just can't, like, whoever's gonna see it's gonna see it. Like, after high school, I think I unfollowed like 300 people.
Yeah, that's so real.
Or like, I only follow like less than 300 people on Instagram now, just because I don't really like, not that I don't care about other people, but I'm just like, if I'm gonna spend time trying to compare or like one up, I don't want to do that. Like, I'd rather just have my own life and like live it how I want to live it.
Yeah, so. I think it's so much more fun to use social media too, and it's more casual, because that's like how Instagram started. People would post anything,
like those Visco pictures.
And like I think I've been doing that more recently, because I'm like, oh, I don't care what anyone thinks of this. I think it's cool. Or like, here's a song that I like. It's like a digital diary, and I think that's like how social media should continue to be used. But that's not what happened, unfortunately. And I think it's also like, you can just spot it so easily when you can tell someone's posting solely for other people. Like, I'm always I like have like an intuition with knowing when someone's going through a breakup with the way that they're posting all of a sudden. And I'm like, no, you can just tell. And like, I've been there. So like, it's so easy to fall into that, but it's so much better to heal offline, because then you're doing it for yourself. And it's like, I think that makes the process a lot easier.
Well, it's the only way to actually heal.
Yeah. Exactly.
Literally.
Like, because it's for you, and versus like when you're always doing that for other people, it's like you're months from now you're still going to be doing it for other people.
Like, you're living your life for someone else.
Yeah.
I do think it's hard though to resist the urge.
It's
to
very
like look up your ex, or you know, want to post the like comeback picture, or you know, like whatever it's called.
No, it's
what are some like what do you guys think are some like tips that you would give somebody maybe going through that?
Well, I went through a breakup pretty recently. So a couple of months ago, and when it happened, I was not posting anything for over 2 months. That was and that's the longest I've been off of anything, and it was the best thing. I was just off. I wouldn't go on it. Like, I wouldn't post on it. And even now I keep like 4 hours of screen time, like maybe per day. And that's even pushing it at this point, but it was the best thing I think I possibly could have done. And like, from the way that I've handled breakups in the past, like, I did have that urge to just be like, no, look at me, I'm so cool, this is what you've lost. And like, I think that's a normal feeling that people really cling to. Like, it's a very like healthy way of like thinking. But when you start to materialize that is when it becomes a problem. And what I learned, like, being off like that, I was like, I don't care what they're doing. I don't care what they're thinking of me by not posting. And I was able to do all of that and heal on my own terms and on my own pace. And there wasn't this pressure to perform. And I think it's it just was so beneficial. So I think to people going through it, I would always like just recommend at least taking like a week or two after, just to be off. and see how you feel about it. Because then also, like, if you, like, I don't scroll on TikTok at all anymore. Like, that period of time, I just don't go on it now at all.
Wow.
Because I realized I was like, I was just mindlessly scrolling.
Mm-hmm.
And then in breakups, when you're doing that, it's like the algorithm knows somehow. And it's like, here's all these happy couples.
Or it's like, whenever he doesn't love you. It's like, oh, thanks.
It's like a tarot card reading at like midnight. And you're like, this isn't helping. And I think that's the biggest thing that I saw with changing, because it's like, I'm not even like looking for that validation anymore, or that distraction even.
I feel like my advice would be, I feel like when a breakup or something, or even like a friendship breakup does happen, like the other person or other people who know about it are expecting you to have a reaction or post like that. So I feel like when you don't, it says a lot more about who you are than like wanting to like seek out attention or just like show that you're the better person.
Yeah.
Because I feel like most times when people do, like, there have been times my best friend texted me, she's like, so and so broke up, you could just tell. And then you go on their page and it's like all this like stuff about them trying to be better. And more times than not, you can tell who messed up and who didn't. And I'm like, that's like so embarrassing. Like, I would rather just like you did, like not post or go on it ever. Like, just the idea of giving someone the satisfaction of like, I know this really hurt you, so you're trying to better yourself. Like, I would rather just like keep like not internalize like we said, but just like heal on my own and deal with it on my own.
You know, I think the initial response or reaction can feel so strong.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'd say like I'd really recommend like go to your notes app on your phone. Go to a journal, like
anything.
I would say like go to a rage room.
But maybe double think before you hit post.
You have to. And like my friend also recently went through a breakup, and she was like falling into that, and I asked her, I was like, well, what are you looking for?
Yes.
And she was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then she like hasn't been posting like that since, because she was like, well, like I wasn't looking for anything that was good for me. She was like, nothing I was doing was like benefiting me at all, so why was I doing it? And I think, like you said, like that reaction was so strong and intense at first, which is why I'm like, maybe just take a week even, just to like be off and see like what settles and, in
like,
that time.
Feel your feelings. And, like, journaling is such a big thing. I've been doing it for the last 3 years, like in my journal app. I think I mentioned it before, but even if something just like makes me mad one day, I'm just like, at least I have my journal app to listen to me, because like sometimes when you get upset over something, like you don't really want help from anyone. You kind of just want to like deal with it yourself. And I feel like having my journal app is like a great little like escape. Am I using a lot of megabytes for it? Yeah, because I keep putting information into it every day. But like, it's worth it. It's
that's a good way to use megabytes.
And that's self-care.
That's true.
Like that's a huge thing of self-care. So like that's just such a, I think, healthier way of coping with things. And then I think kind of like talking about ending and things like that, forgiveness versus closure, do we need both to move on? And is moving on also a form of self-care?
I feel like closure is something that's not always going to be had, I guess, in like any sort of like relational breakup. But I feel like for like the forgiveness aspect, a lot of times in breakups specifically, I feel like if something happens, the other person like blames it on themselves, or they're like, why did I not do this? Because it made him do this, or like questioning your own self-worth. I feel like for the forgiveness side, you kind of have to like forgive yourself. Like how you are as a person doesn't reflect on what the other person in the situation did. Like, you know yourself and you know your morals, you know your own peace. Like, there's nothing that could have been done to prevent how the other person acted, because like they were gonna do it either way, no matter how great of a spouse you were or like relation you were. So
no, that's really good insight. And not to quote Taylor Swift, who I love very much, but anyway, she in her one documentary had said that you don't need to forgive or forget to move on. Those things don't need to exist at all. And you can still move on and you can still have peace. Because I think there obviously is that emphasis on, no, we need to forgive, or we need someone to forgive us, or whatever it may be, or we even need to forget it to be able to move on. And I think when we put those stipulations onto things, that becomes very limited, because in human relationships, that's not what happens. You never know when something's ending, when it's or like when something is going to end. And yeah, kind of like what you were saying, sometimes even like in relationships, would that forgiveness even feel good?
Yeah.
Like, would that actually help at all? Especially in situations, I think, when people have cheated on each other and things like that. It's like, okay, well, if they forgive you or you forgive them, what is that doing for you then? Um, so I think it's also just very different for every person, because I think we all need different things to move on and to have a sense of closure. But I think I've always found that the only closure that I've found fulfilling and comforting is the things that I've given myself. Because it's like, if I work through the situation and I like decide how I feel about it, it's like, okay, well, that's the closure I need. I don't need to know what they feel about it, or I don't need this from them anymore.
Yeah. I really like that, Faith, because I think this just gets so tricky, right? Like, this is just really tricky, and I think it keeps people stuck in breakups and not a good spot in the breakup for a long time, because I think it's so natural to want either forgiveness from that person or this idea of closure, which I think a lot of the times we're seeking from somebody else. But really, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think closure normally has to come internally, right? From yourself to feel really healing.
One thing with like any relationship breakup, I always thought like you lived your life before them. Like you'll find you can live your life after them too.
So that's always a good reminder.
Yeah, I think that like encompasses the theme of this episode, because like even with that closure being from like what you need to get from yourself, it's like all of that idea of self-care and like things that we need for our own lives, it does come from you. It's never something that you can get from someone else. Even if there's that pressure to, I think that's the biggest thing, is like having to be in tune with what you need at that time, because that's the only way I feel like you're going to feel good about anything that you're doing.
I think that's such a good like thing to check in with yourself on. Like, if you feel like right now you're really preoccupied about like trying to get something from somebody else, or I have to get this product to feel good, I think that's a really good time just to check in and say like, hey, I'm here for, like, I'm here for myself, and like what do I have right now in my capacity to just show myself some love, and whatever that looks like.
Yeah, exactly. To conclude, we want to express our gratitude to St. Clair Health, whose support makes this podcast possible. We invite you to listen to the following message from our sponsor.
At St. Clair Health, we're always improving, building on our commitment to face the challenges of today, making an impact on the communities we serve, so we can be stronger together. St. Clair Health, expert care from people who care.
We're grateful to each and every one of you for tuning in and supporting our podcast. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Love yourself.
The views and opinions expressed in the Teens Tap In podcast represent the opinions of the hosts and their guests. The views and opinions expressed by Outreach Teen and Family Services employees, donors, and volunteers are their own and do not necessarily reflect the view of Outreach Teen and Family Services or the show's sponsors. The content here should not be taken as counseling advice. The content here is for informational purposes only, and because each person is unique, please consult your mental health provider or physician for any mental health counseling or other medical questions. The podcast should not be used in any legal capacity whatsoever, including, but not limited to, establishing a standard of care in a legal sense, or as a basis for expert witness testimony. No guarantee is given regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on the podcast. If you find any error in any of the content of the podcast, please contact us at podcasts@outreachteen.org. Outreach Teen and Family Services, its sponsors, donors, and partners expressly disclaim any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages whatsoever arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, reliance on, or inability to use this podcast or the information presented in this podcast. Please go to www.outreachteen.org to see the complete notice and disclaimer for the podcast episodes.